Ever since I first bought my Xbox Series X when I impulse bought it at Walmart instead of buying groceries, and I was greeted to this fantastic unboxing experience and an amazing backlog of games, I've always thought it was a really cool console. That seems to be an opinion that Xbox is caring less and less about every day. There's some rumors going around that Xbox is going third party, and that would basically mean that games like this that we bought an Xbox for would be available to any console by any manufacturer. And for the consumer, this is great because it means potentially that PlayStation players and Nintendo players could be enjoying Forza and Halo or whatever else comes from that Activision acquisition. But it's not necessarily good for Xbox as a brand. This Xbox 360 that I've had sitting behind me was an incredible success for Microsoft and gaming in general. They did the impossible introducing an Xbox emulator for this thing, allowing backwards compatibility with its previous generation. They significantly refined the design and they gave Sony some serious competition. But I don't think there's any denying that when it came to the Xbox One and the Xbox Series consoles, there was quite a bit of a rough patch.
And fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
But as you can tell by the fact that I own one of these things, I didn't give out all hope, because this actually might be the last generation where we get to use these things, and people are going to be looking back on this console like, oh, this was the last great Xbox. We didn't realize how good we had it. This startup screen will be burned into my memory until the day that I die. I could be an Alzheimer's patient in the hospital on my deathbed. This might be the last thing I remember. The Xbox was the first console that I got after my PlayStation 1, so it's a pretty special console to me. It represented a big generational leap in technology, and it was also just a really fun time in my childhood. And when it comes to the brand new Xbox Series consoles, I might be one of the 3 people that picked one of these things up because of its ability to play these 20-year-old games. This is the only console I can pick up right now where I can play Dead to Rights. Not this one because it's not on the backwards compatibility list. Mercenaries, SSX, Left 4 Dead, the Japanese version, but it only shows the American version, Munch's Odyssey, and Dead or Alive 3, which in some cases, like in the case of Dead or Alive 3, it'll actually output it at 4K with really nice looking visuals. And it's super easy to do. You just take the game, pop it in and play it. And sure, there's caveats that kind of deterred me from buying one of these in the first place. You gotta download the game after it connects to a server. And in the case of Snowblind that I just threw on the floor like it's not a 20-year-old game that could break, some games just aren't supported, and that really sucks. But you wanna know something else that's supported? Newer games that you can just buy at a really good price and play for a lot cheaper than you would in the digital storefront. Cyberpunk 2077, a little game you may have heard of, got a pretty big resurgence recently for like the second time. I picked a brand new copy of this up for under 20 bucks and basically got the next gen version for free. Then I bought the DLC expansion for cheaper than you would have on the digital storefront. But I don't think I need to bring the sales figures up to tell you that their Series S, the cheaper version of this console without a disk drive, has vastly outsold their physical. Can you stop messing with the light, please?
I'm using that.
Has significantly outsold its more expensive big brother with the disk drive, which really sucks. And with the leaked documentation that was showing that they were planning on refreshing this console with an adorably digital version, it shows that Microsoft probably isn't interested on keeping the disk drive thing. They've clearly been putting a lot more focus in Game Pass and not so much selling the consoles themselves, but putting games in as many places as possible. And as much as it pains me to say it, I really do like Game Pass. My fiance probably put more time on Pressure Wash Simulator through Game Pass than I've played this console at all. But I like having options, I like having physical discs, and I like backwards compatibility. And if you don't think backwards compatibility is important, well, let me just introduce you to some stuff that was on this console that goes by Skate 3 and Call of Duty. Skate 3 had gotten a massive resurgence when they flipped the servers back online. The easiest way you could get into it was by popping your physical disc into the Series X or just buying the game on the marketplace. Same with classic Call of Duty. When those servers were magically fixed not too long ago, all the games were being played by hundreds of thousands of people. And if you owned a Series X and you had the disc, you could just pop it in. You didn't need the old Xbox 360. Again, you could buy these things through the digital marketplace, but with it having that physical backing that they were aiming to shoot the compatibility up for at one point, it kind of incentivized them to keep pushing that software. But if all we're gonna focus on is Game Pass and digital sales, why even have a console to begin with? Why don't we just go the way of Sega and just get rid of home consoles and just become a third-party company, which really sucks. And it's not just because of the nostalgia factor of me liking Xbox. Competition is great. Both platforms excel at different things. Sony and Microsoft have reasons to try to do things differently. Microsoft sells a lot of accessories and controllers that I use on their console to play couch co-op and split screen, like Fusion Frenzy. I'd show you gameplay of Fusion Frenzy, but it just took a screenshot instead of video capture. And this also extends to newer games like Party Animals and Quake 2. Well, that's not a new game, but it was re-released and it was also on Game Pass, but I was able to play through it on Game Pass with my Xbox controllers on my Xbox console. And I'm a big proponent of backwards compatibility in playing older games. Obviously, you got the Duke controller for the Xbox that recreates the original controller. You can also get a recreation of the Xbox 360 controller to play Xbox 360 games on your Xbox. All things that are probably going to go away if Microsoft does away with the Xbox. Then that just leaves you with Sony and Nintendo. What incentive does Sony have to do anything for its consumer? They can do whatever they want, and if you don't like it, you don't like the business practices, you don't like the way they're selling games, you got no option. It kind of feels like, since we're losing all of these features with our consoles, I'm finding less and less of a reason to own a console. At this point, why not just buy a PC? If I wanted an all-digital storefront where I could download the finals or any other games that I wanted, I could do it on PC, the same as I would do on console, and I could even play with a controller. But on PC, there's actually competition that you may not have thought of. You have Steam, you have GOG, you have the Epic Games Store, etc. You can buy keys that you can buy externally and then put them into those launchers to unlock games for cheaper prices. It's kind of sketchy, but it's also an option. And on Steam, you can refund your games. Can you easily refund a game you played for 2 hours on PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo? As much as I hate to say it, I do enjoy the features that Microsoft offers through Game Pass. And despite the fact that there's issues like compatibility missing and the fact that you have to connect to an online connection to download the games from your physical library to actually play on the console, at least it's there and it works. But I think this very well could be the last ditch effort we ever get from Microsoft or any company to allow you to do things like play SSX3 from your original Xbox on your brand new console. This is a weird time to be a fan of the gaming industry, man. Lots going on, and this isn't even including all the layoffs, acquisitions, focuses on live service games that come out and flop, games being more expensive than ever to produce despite the fact that it's never been easier and more accessible to make games. It's weird, man. But what do you think about what's going on with Microsoft or the console market in general? Remember, even if you're just a Sony fan and you don't own a fucking Xbox, this is gonna affect you too. Drop it in the comments, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. But I'm starting to feel like I'm just a generation away from going full PC. I don't know. At least on there, I can literally play whatever I want through emulation too. So what do you think, Muggle? What do you think about the console market? You don't care. Cats don't care about games.